The Tiger Vanguard is a powerful and imposing boss blocking your journey through Chapter 2. If you let him, he will absolutely dominate the battlefield, pound the Chosen One into a pulp, cut the Chosen One to ribbons, and eat the Chosen One's brain as a nice little snack. But as dangerous as this boss is, he is not invincible. You can hurt him, and you can beat him. So today, I'm going to break down his moveset, give some tips and tricks from my experience fighting the boss for over an hour, then show you how I did it so that you can better learn for your own runs. If you like seeing these kinds of videos, do be sure to get subscribed, leave a like while you're down there, and for now, let's get right into things. So first up, for his basic attack sequence, the Tiger Vanguard actually swaps between using his sword and martial arts with his bare claws. He's agile, his blows are powerful, they will knock you flying if they connect. And most of his basic attack sequences involve mobility. He advances, he rolls, or he retreats. And you can often use this to your advantage, allowing his momentum to carry him past you as you dodge, so that you get some time to hit him, because most of the time, the final attack in his sequence has a bit more of a wind-up, and in comparison to a lot of other bosses, he is a little less likely to chain one attack sequence directly into the next. Not that he doesn't do it sometimes, especially as his health gets lower, but I found in comparison to, say, the Yellow Wind Sage, who's later on in Chapter 2, he does do it a bit less. Also, if his attack sequence ends in a jump, don't just immediately dodge. If you do, you'll finish the roll just in time to get hit. Instead, wait a little bit as he kind of hangs in the air, roll right before he lands. If you do this correctly, this is a really good time to get some damage uptime on the boss, as half the time, he needs to recover a bit, pull his fist out of the ground as he slammed it down really hard. Also, personally, I found this is very much a boss that you want to aggressively stay close to and attack frequently, especially because your heavy attack interrupts most of his basic attack sequences. This isn't quite true for everything. Some of his special moves do have super armor, and if you're attacking too much, his Stone Tiger stance might trigger automatically, because you can hit him triggering it before you quite know what's going on. But in general, being aggressive and attacking a lot made the fight easier for me. Speaking of, his Stone Tiger is where he assumes a stance, turns his body to stone. He uses this one of two ways, and there are some subtle tells that you can use to know the difference. If he's using it defensively, he'll prevent the damage and execute a counterattack if you strike him. While doing this, he crouches down, but doesn't get onto all fours. If he does get onto all fours and turns to stone, that means he's using the stone form offensively as a decoy, very similar to your Cloud Step. It's there to distract you. He's going to materialize out of nowhere with a lethal strike. You can deal with this one of a few ways. Number one, if you see him turn to stone, you can either just not hit him at all. This is certainly the safest. And then look around to see if you need to dodge if he's on all fours. Or, with his higher stance, you can intentionally hit him, trigger the counter strike, perfect dodge, and use it as an opportunity to get in some damage. If you're really struggling here, I suggest using Cloud Step to avoid his attack and provide a decoy target, or use a transformation to be able to tank the damage. This is one of the hardest moves in this entire fight, especially given the lethality of his counterpunch. In general, when the Tiger Vanguard draws his sword, it means he gains range and tends to use more sweeping strikes, thus covering a wider portion of the arena. Most of the time, his basic attack sword combo ends in a large powerful slash that does significant damage. Even if the early combos hit you, try your best to avoid the final strike in the sequence. In addition to the tornadoes, sometimes he swings his sword to fire blood waves as well. Again, overall, these are pretty easy to dodge, and you can use this as an opportunity to get close and deal damage, or stand from a safe distance. But what I strongly advise that you avoid at all costs is his unsheath sequence. This is where he places his hands on the sword, strikes a pose, unsheathes, and unleashes a very deadly attack that does massive damage from pretty much anywhere in the arena. Time your dodge carefully, and if possible, get close to him, because this is a great time to get extra damage in, as he usually sheathes his sword immediately afterwards. This is something you really don't want to get hit by, especially if your health is low, because there's a good chance you're just straight going to die to it. One other thing he does with his sword is his Lay Waste, or Alreki move, where he slashes his sword wildly and summons some tornadoes. You can either move back to avoid the sequence entirely, as it does have a limited range, the tornadoes will chase you, but they're easy to dodge, or you can move in close, dodge the strikes, and get in some damage. Alternatively, if you time your immobilize right, you can do enough damage, especially with a heavy attack, to interrupt the sequence entirely. Now last up, not a mechanic, but a general warning. As his health gets lower, he gets more dangerous, and he tends to chain his deadlier moves back to back more frequently. This is what really made the fight brutally tough, because I'd get so close, and then I'd die, and I get close, and then I'd die. and I was often dying with flask charges because he did so much burst damage that I'd go from full to 0 before I could heal in between. In fact, even in my kill attempt, I came so close to losing it in the last 10% because I got caught by several of these lethal moves back to back. Therefore, I strongly recommend that you are rather conservative with your mana use towards the first half of a fight. Learn the combos, get the moveset down. As you start to get to around 50% health, use your Cloud Step more frequently. Use Immobilize. Use a Transformation. Combo all of these things together so that you can take down the Tiger Vanguard. And so with that, here's how the fight went for me.
Fancy running, do you? Your destiny's right there! Take this! Brave!
I have to say, this was a really cool fight. The devs did an amazing job of capturing the power of a tiger, the power of a martial artist, and blending the two together. Also, getting good at this fight actually helps quite a lot in Chapter 2, because there are two other tigers that you're going to face. The Tiger Vanguard, name in quotes there, and the Mad Tiger. While their movesets do have a few variations, learning the fundamentals here will very much help you with those later fights. Unfortunately, it does not help against the Yin Tiger boss, which you'll face later on. Yin Tiger is a whole different beast. He is one of the most terrifying fights in the game, which is hilarious to me because he is completely optional. But don't worry, more about that in a future video. For now, I hope these tips help you defeat the Tiger Vanguard. And after you do, let me know. Did you like the fight? Did you hate the fight? Did you hate the fight while you were progressing but like it in the end? Personally, I'm very much in that last camp. When I was doing it, I was very frustrated because I kept dying and he was under 10% health. He was so close. He was just one hit away. But after actually beating the fight, I came to appreciate it. Because the mechanics are good, it is fair, it's just really brutally difficult. And so I'm curious about some of your thoughts down in the comments below. Also, if you're looking for something else to watch after this, I have a few other videos covering the bosses in Chapter 2. If you're looking at optional stuff, I cover the Shigandang questline and Men in Stone. Plus, I also have the Fuban/Yellow Robe Squire quest. I strongly advise that you do Fuban to get the Wind Tamer vessel because it is highly effective against the final boss of the chapter, the Yellow Wind Sage, which I also have a video on. So those three are all up in the card and down below. And of course, before I go, a special thanks to my patrons and channel members for the continued support. For as low as $1 a month, you can now make videos just like this one possible. Link support is down below. And a big thanks to everyone who watched to the end of the video. I've been kind of trying to make dual-purpose videos here. On the one hand, covering the mechanics for people who need help with a fight, and on the other hand, showing my fights and documenting my journey through this game. Personally, I've had a lot of fun documenting my journey, but I don't think my hard drive likes me as I have several hundred gigabytes of footage at this point. I know it might look from these videos like, oh, within 1 or 2 attempts, I take the boss down every time, and to be fair, there's a lot of bosses where that is the case, but there's also bosses where I'm sitting there for over an hour, wiping, dying, getting tantalizingly close, and ultimately pulling off a win by the skin of my teeth. So I'm glad you've been enjoying the content, and I hope to see you in the next one.